We're going to be making some noises with this Gordon Smith Griffin. It's an offset body, handcrafted in the UK, that is a really lovely blend of classic Gibson and Fender aesthetics, while being its own thing. The finish that we've got here today is called Austin Blue. You can see on there are a pair of Gordon Smith's in-house mini humbuckers. You've got a classic Gibson style stop bar and tailpiece on here. The headstock is slightly tilted back on there, and I guess you've got these kind of classic Fender style 6-in-line tuners on a reverse headstock. 22 frets on here. The frets aren't overly large or small. I guess they're just a medium gauge on there. We're going to hear a bunch of sounds with this, and I want to showcase the coil splits on each pickup on here, along with the three-way. There's a master volume and tone per pickup on here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the guitar. But first, let's just dig straight in. We'll start with the cleaner end of sounds and move through to some absolute filth. I think my favorite combination on there is having the neck pickup split, especially when I'm playing with some distortion on there, and the bridge humbucker in full humbucking mode. That way, when I switch to the bridge, I've got a little bit more compression and drive. It's really nice for lead work and heavier chords, but I can flick over to that split neck pickup on there and very much get a Strat or Tele style inspired tone out of that. And I think that's the thing that I appreciate the most about this guitar is it really does a good job at blending not just the aesthetics of old Fender and Gibson offset designs, but also the overall tones on there. Like we heard with those jangly sounds, like you can get a proper Fender style single coil sound out of the neck pickup on there. Blending the two pickups together is really nice as well, whether they're split or whether they're in the full humbucking mode. The little advantages like having a tilted headstock so you don't need string trees on here. The almost very 80s style design of a reverse headstock on here. And I know it's funny saying something in this kind of very shiny metallic blue is understated, but I like that they have chosen to work on the basics, like making sure the fretwork is really nice and tidy, making sure the neck is super smooth to play, that all the electronics and pots are high quality on here, rather than going for perceived value adds that you sometimes see on more budget guitars, like, burl veneers and a whole bunch of, plastic inlays and things like that. I really, really like that this just has dots on here. It's got a nice slab fretboard. The overall body is really nice, but it's not too neck heavy over here. This would be very comfortable to play for a long gig. And again, you've got the sort of Gibson style body with more of the Fender style neck on here. I know it is a set neck, but plenty of jangle out of this thing, and definitely one to keep on your radar if you're looking for a handcrafted guitar that plays really, really nice, that has a classic look while still being its own thing, and it gives you a variety of tones without going overboard. It's not like there's a 7-way switch and a bunch of bass cuts and tone controls on here. If you've played a Firebird before, or if you wanted a Firebird, I think this would be a great alternative. Similarly, I think if you wanted something like a Fender Mustang or Jag, but you just wanted it to feel a little bit more solid, and for use of a better term, Gibson-like. I have been comparing this to Fender and Gibson a lot, but I think given the price point that they're going for and the overall construction, those comparisons are pretty valid. One thing I do like as well that you can't get on either of those brands is you can adjust the truss rod down here. You don't need to take any plates off. So little quality of life improvements on their actual value that they've tried to add rather than just adding perceived value on there. I will pop a link to this one in the video description if you want to check it out. Big thank you to Drew and James at DI Music for letting me borrow this guitar and make some noise with it. For now, I want to hear your thoughts. I'll see you all on the next one.